Hello YouTube. The Elder Scrolls universe is full of interesting and weird creatures, with both friendly and enemy creatures dotting the face of Tamriel. Now, one of the creatures that I most dreaded to face when I was relatively new to the series is the Flame Atronach, a summoned creature seemingly made of fire, which can be really deadly for new players, especially in Skyrim. But did you know that Flame Atronachs actually have quite a bit of unique lore, which sets them apart from being just a summoned creature? For example, they have their own realm of oblivion, they come in different shapes and they have some intelligence of their own. We will explore all of that and more in this video after the intro. So, the Flame Atronach, an elemental creature vaguely in the shape of a woman made of fire and molten rock. They are some of the most popular creatures to summon, being quite easy to summon with quite well-known incantations and being very powerful to boot. Now, when summoned, they can be highly territorial and they are, as such, excellent guardian summons. They are known to have very little in the forms of emotion, with blank expressions, although other Daedric creatures actually describe them as irritable, which is pretty funny. It's said that summoning these creatures requires the incantation known as Coron's Peremptory Summons, an ancient spell which allows the user to summon Flame Atronachs. Now, while in-game we simply learn the skill book and then know the spell to summon a Flame Atronach, in the lore this would mean that we gain understanding of this incantation. And you see, Coron's Peremptory Summons is actually known as one of the more variable spells in the Elder Scrolls universe, as the incantation is apparently easily modified to change the duration of the summoning and to change the shape of the Flame Atronach that is summoned. Because we know that in the lore, Flame Atronachs exist not just in their default vaguely humanoid female form, rather they can be shaped into many different forms, with some forms even being used as mounts by extremely skilled conjurers, who then even stall them in a pocket realm of oblivion rather than a stable, which is pretty interesting. Now, some of the people who were able to first master the shaping of the Flame Atronach and mutate them through modifying their summoning were the conjuration masters of the Draera clan, the high elves who settled in High Rock, who right now live only on this little island, which is the Isle of Draera. They were apparently the first to modify Flame Atronachs, and even now in modern times, summoning and modifying an Atronach into an exotic shape is known to be a sort of magical test of proficiency for the Draera sorcerers, which is pretty interesting. Now, these exotic forms of the Flame Atronach do not seem to exist by default, as these mount forms and other mutations of the Flame Atronach are seemingly always the result of conjurers modifying their summoning incantation. You see, Flame Atronachs are Daedra, and as we talked about in my video on why the Daedra fear their so-called true names, each Daedra has a so-called true name, or nimix, a sort of formula which perfectly describes their being. The more complex the Daedra is, the bigger the nimic, or this formula which describes them. And this nimic is used to create them and to bring them back to life in the waters of oblivion in order to regenerate after being vanquished, because when Daedra are slain, they will eventually regenerate in oblivion. These nimics, it sounds kinda stupid, but they're kinda like a seed which you put into a generator, so a programming generator, for example your Minecraft world generator, although more games and programs use this principle. If you put a certain seed in, the game will always get the same world and same set of circumstances from this generator, and if you change the seed, you get a very different outcome, so in Minecraft terms, you would get a different world. This is very basically how Daedra are created, because with that formula the exact same Daedra can be regenerated in oblivion. But more information in my video on Nimics, which is in the description. Anyway, what's important for this video is that when the Flame Atronach is summoned through Coron's Peremptory Summons incantation, the conjurer can seemingly modify the nimics of the summoned Flame Atronach pretty easily, which is why the shape and properties of Flame Atronachs are sometimes changed upon summoning, especially when experienced conjurers conjure one. And when talking about really powerful conjurers, so near divine level, they are actually known to be able to change their being to such a degree that they can give the Flame Atronach thoughts and intelligence, as in their default state, they are beings with definitely some intelligence, but very low intelligence. Although it is pretty rare to be able to modify a Flame Atronach to that degree. Usually it's just their shape. Although, like I said, in their default form, so if they are summoned without any changes, they will generally resemble a humanoid female. In fact, in the lore, people on Tamriel who don't know about the existence of flame Atronachs will often mistake them at their first sighting for a female elf set on fire. And only on closer examination, when they see that this elf consists out of just fire and has horns instead of eyes and spikes of molten rock on their bodies, then they discover it's not a mortal but a fire elemental Daedra. Now, the simple fact that they look like humanoids, especially humanoid females, has led to some conjurers being attracted to them, and even keeping them around because they are nice to look at. And in some powerful conjurers, there is rumors that they have flame Atronachs in their lineage, because it's then rumored that one of their ancestors mated with one of these creatures.
Degenerates.
Yeah, exactly, Todd, but the more you know. Anyway, that probably is just an unreliable rumor though, as they are fully made of flames and literally don't have reproductive parts, but I still thought it was pretty funny that we have that in the lore. Anyway, while some people assume that the spell used to summon them actually creates the flame Atronach, that isn't true. In reality, flame Atronachs are summoned from a place called the Infernace, a pocket realm of oblivion inhabited entirely by flame Atronachs. This realm is said to be one big and really boring world filled with lava, magma and fire, with the only thing other than lava and magma on the surface being crevices in the magma, spewing even more magma and lava into the already endless sea of molten rock that is the Infernace. It's said that this realm is very well known by conjurers, as it's one of the easiest to summon from, while at the same time it's almost never visited by anyone, and anyone who did visit the realm usually left really quickly, as apparently the temperature is so high that even other Daedric creatures cannot easily survive there, much less mortals, as we have no records of any mortals ever being able to enter it, with the only known other visitors being other Daedra, who were forced to leave pretty quickly apparently due to the temperature. Now, the interesting thing is that this realm, the Infernace, is actually super fascinating. Despite the landscape being boring, according to an in-universe expert on Daedric realms, it's one of the rarer types of realms. You see, while next to the big realms of the Daedric princes, there are more than 37,000 pocket realms in Oblivion that are known to exist, most of these are either realms created by one powerful creature who manifested their own realm from the chaos of Oblivion, or abandoned or ripped away parts of the Daedric Prince realms and then inhabited by other creatures after it was abandoned by or ripped away from the Daedric Prince in question, who originally created it. Now, the Infernace is neither of these types of realms, as the Infernace is known to be a collective realm, a realm created by the collective power and thoughts of its inhabitants, the Flame Atronachs. This type of realm is said to be very rare, and because each Flame Atronach is said to be quite similar, this results in the realm being quite uniform and mundane, consisting only of their basic elements, so fire, lava and magma and molten rocks in other forms. And in this simplicity, despite them being chaotic creatures, it seems that it's quite an organized realm, although organized to what degree, we don't know. We, for example, don't know about any social hierarchy. We know that creatures called Flame Atronach monarchs exist, but whether these are actual leaders in their realm or if it's just a name that mortals gave to stronger Flame Atronachs, we don't know. The only guy who was ever in there long enough to observe the Flame Atronachs in their natural state said that they looked too much alike and behaved in such a way that he wasn't able to discern whether or not they have some sort of hierarchy or if they just behave mindlessly in there. That being said, among the thousands of other Oblivion pocket realms, there's a completely opposite realm known as Takubar, or the fourth sinus of Takubar as some Daedric experts call it, which is a realm of endless cold, which has cold flame Atronachs in it, so flame Atronachs with blue flame that aren't hot, but instead are said to be super cold, and this is actually where the blue flame Atronachs from Molech Baal's realm come from, as some of his servants imported them into his realm for him, which is pretty cool. What's also pretty cool is actually this art, which I've been using a lot in the video. That's from the canon Elder Scrolls board game Betrayal of the Second Era, and if you want some more cool Elder Scrolls original art, new lore and a good board game to boot, I can highly recommend checking them out. This video is not sponsored by them, I don't get money if you buy the game, but their dev team helped me out a lot in the past with some videos, and you know, I was even able to interview their lead writer about lore in the past, so Sometimes I just want to give them a little shout out, especially if I use their materials, as they are really cool people who made a really cool game. So for more on the game, check out the description, and I will also put my playlist of videos on the lore of the game in there. And also check out my interview with the lead writer, which is pretty cool stuff. Anyway, that's about all I can say about Flame Atronachs for today, and I sincerely hope that I managed to teach you something new about the Elder Scrolls lore, and if I did, why not give the video a like, and you know, one of those hype things which YouTube does nowadays. Always appreciated, obviously. And now it's time for me to vocally thank my top Patreon subscribers: Goblark, Bernardo Binda, Gabriel Binda, King Chris 20, Volkjor Vargonia, RB Dash, Lexicon, Polycom, Sir Otter, Sword of Bushido, Rakai, Spaceman, James Lynch and Bara Damas. It's thanks to these people and all the other lovely people on screen that this channel stays alive, as they are my Patreon supporters and my YouTube members. And thanks to them I can continue making these videos, so huge thanks to them. There's links in the description in case you want to join them on screen. See you next video.